This isn't real.
What is real? How do you define real?
Hello and welcome to True Crime Rocket Science, the most authentic voice in true crime. What was really going on at these parties? Well, we're getting new insights from the latest Bodycam of Kaylee Goncalves, and we're going to listen to another, this time a soundtrack really from Truth and Transparency channel, who applied for another Freedom of Information Act and has now sourced additional Bodycam, this time also from a noise complaint from August 16. Let's listen in.
Upstairs to the back deck. Interesting.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Is this your place?
Yeah.
Perfect. You know why we're here?
And I assume noise.
Noise, yeah.
Yeah.
Big speaker right there.
Yeah.
Nothing against having a party. Once neighbors start calling in, then we have an issue.
Fair.
You go to school?
Yeah.
Okay. What year?
Senior.
Senior. Okay. So I'll tell you the same thing I told them. You probably know the drill, right?
Actually, no.
Oh, okay. So usually, at least for me, I'll give you a verbal warning.
Okay.
Once I have neighbors calling in, your music's too loud, you're disturbing the peace.
Yeah.
Nothing against having parties, nothing against having people over who are overage to drink. Mm-hmm. But again, once we start disturbing the neighbors, then we've got an issue.
Yeah.
Noise ticket is up to 300.
Yeah, somewhere around 300, 400.
Okay, it's a pretty expensive ticket. I don't want to give that to you. That being said, this is your place, so I'm going to hold you responsible. Because it is your place, you're also responsible for everybody here.
Yeah.
So I'm going to grab your info.
Yeah.
And if I do have to come back here, a $300 some ticket's coming your way.
Okay.
And it only gets more expensive from there. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
fair. Absolutely.
So if you were a little surprised at the behavior of the students inside and outside 1122 King Road during the September 1st incident, the noise complaint that preceded it on August 16, just really 2 weeks before that, well, it actually adds to that sense of surprise, kind of getting another look and a kind of another version of these kids, but also of Kaylee. First of all, we're surprised to see these kids partying in broad daylight on a Tuesday. Now, if you want to watch the body cam from Truth and Transparency, you're welcome to stop my video and go to that video, right? Go to the, I'll put a link to that in the description. You can go and watch that all yourself. And then if you're interested, you can come back to the analysis here. Before we get to that analysis, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do like, share, leave a comment, and let's get started. So all of this footage from August 16, what it does is it adds credence to what a neighbor said about parties 4 or 5 days a week, right? What it also adds is kind of a real sense of how loud these parties were. You actually hear the officers saying, 300 decibels or something. Now, in this footage, we know for a fact that Kaylee is in the house because she comes out. But once again, the cops are peeved because no one comes to the front door, and when they scoot around to the back, they're again made to wait several minutes. They stand in front of that glass door, twiddling their thumbs, and once again get quite agitated. But it's actually more than that. When the cop scoots around to the patio area, someone is just entering and closing the sliding door. They appear to hear and see the cops approaching. And what he says is, "Hey there," right, to the individual on the patio, and then that individual disappears inside those glass sliding doors anyway, into the kitchen. This happens at 17:27 and 42 seconds in the Truth and Transparency audio. More than 2 minutes later, at 17:29:45, Kaylee finally emerges with a dude in a blue shirt shadowing her. Now, some people have said that dude looks similar to the dude that stands at the door about 2 weeks later and takes everything in his stride. Why does he take everything in his stride? Well, because they've done this before. And if they've had other parties at other houses, probably the same thing there. Now, when you see Kaylee appear with coiffed hair, smartly dressed, all made up, you can't help wondering why she took so long. And also, what is going on inside this house? What's going on in the bedrooms? What's going on in there? What are they doing? But you can tell there's a slight fuck you in terms of their attitude to law enforcement. And as we mentioned during the analysis of the September 1st incident, there is probably some hiding, disposal, and concealment of contraband involved. Would you agree with that? Contraband is any illegal or prohibited traffic in goods. It might be cigarettes. It might be anything that someone who's underage may not be allowed to keep with them. And we did see in the previous body cam them sort of throwing out alcohol. So they've been there before. This is something that's not new to these kids. And so you can imagine they are quite irritated, like anyone would be getting a speeding ticket. And clearly, purely in the context of a noise complaint, you would imagine the cops coming around as a real downer, a real bummer, a real killjoy. If they were used to alcohol being seized or, the party being stopped or aware that it happened elsewhere, they would be cautious to hide their substances somewhere secret. Now, none of that is worth bouncing off the walls over in the investigative sense. Unfortunately, the flip side to all of this subterfuge is that we know there was a long delay, or what felt like a delay, in the context of a very serious crime as well. In other words, we're seeing two additional versions of what feels like a long delay in acknowledging, facing up, dealing with, confronting, admitting, acknowledging, all of those things, but in this case, a very serious crime. Right in mid-November. And doesn't it seem like the kids who lived there and those who came over simply defaulted on November 13 to a well-worn path of response to having to deal with the cops? Didn't they just go to their default settings when it came to dealing with the cops on Sunday midday as well? Didn't they try to take the events in their stride once again? The likelihood that the kids interfered not just innocently or incidentally with the crime scene now rises quite alarmingly. So if you think about the cops come and what do? You quickly hide this, take that away, put some clothes on, whatever it is. That is now something that seems almost like programmed. The inversion of all this is if the perpetrator here is a student and also experience these dodgems with law enforcement, he would have several practice runs for how to outwit or outplay the cops as well, whether directly or by casual observation. And what's more, he would have developed some confidence that he could commit a brazen crime and get away with it, simply because he'd seen firsthand just how often it was happening anyway. And wasn't he right? It was easy to get away with if you followed a particular pattern. He could also count on other kids fucking up the crime scene and making it hard to find who was responsible, because this had basically become a default setting when the cops came knocking. One also wonders whether it was a deliberate strategy to each time have a different roommate deal with the situation, thus staying off the police radar, in a sense, and also being able to avoid the idea of a repeat offense. So do you see, in the same way that you can't really be told what the Matrix is?
Unfortunately, no one can be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself.
In exactly the same way, you can't be told what gratuitous behavior is or what it really means in terms of this student neighborhood. You have to see and hear it for yourself as well. I mean, gratuitous compared to what?
I'm one of the you guys were born to a noise last night, sounds like. Things over on the party. Last night?
We weren't here last night.
Last night we didn't do anything. So we had Elena Shepherd that lives here.
Who's Elena Shepherd?
The person that was born to a noise last night.
So in a sense, I guess it's gratuitous compared to some kind of average baseline of already gratuitous student parties. And it's in this milieu of unusual excess that the killer found his feet. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.